Welcome to the Meetup. So this is the 29th Meetup, and we are doing this since December 2017. So every month since that, we have a specific topic we talk about. We have a speaker or ourselves, like Christian, me, or Jacob. We dive into the topic and then present it to learn exciting material about blockchain. This time we have Stefan, Andy, Matthew, and Jonathan with us. So Stefan is a business developer. He's located in Belgium. Andy is located in Berlin. Jonathan, you also in Belgium or somewhere else in the world?
Yes, in Belgium.
Yes, and they will give a short introduction themselves about what their roles are later on. And today we'll talk about enterprise blockchain no-code, low-code platform. Before we start, so a very short overview, what we are going to do today is that try to understand why we actually need solutions like low-code or no-code platforms and what is out there, and then have the introduction about SettleMint from Stefan and Andy and Jonathan, and how they are doing this with concrete use cases and which clients they have, and they will also demonstrate, show us how the platform is working. So feel free to ask them also during that session, and the who is, which I already mentioned, is which clients they already serve. And yeah, before we jump into the SettleMint platform, the low-code blockchain platform, I would like to talk about the no-code trend. So remove blockchain first and see why it is trending, and that is not a new thing which comes up with blockchain right now. It has a long story already, especially in the low-code or rapid application scene. Short background story, I myself founded a no-code platform in 2015, not in the blockchain industry, but I also founded a startup because I've observed that software development is pretty repetitive. So when you code web applications, let's say 80% of the tasks you can automate because it's always the same stuff you do. The only challenging part is business logic to create security and a nice user interface which is usable. So this is a short background story why I'm very interested in these fields as on a personal level and professional level. Most of you guys, I think, have already used such products like Jimdo, website builder. If you agree, just nod or shake your heads so that I can see it. And you see also so-called site builder. You have WordPress themes where you can like drag and drop. And there are tools like IFTT. It's if this then that stuff where you can connect different services, and most of the tools provide a useful interface where you don't need to really code. This is for websites, and you see that since the beginning of the internet that starting with HTML, CSS, now you have tools which comes in handy for end users who don't have technical background, but at the end create some beautiful websites or small automation for their personal or professional needs. Of course, also Excel is, in my opinion, a no-code tool, because at the end, when it was introduced, I think 32 years ago, that mathematicians or people in statistics were the knowledge silos who can only do those calculations. Now you have tools, not only Excel, you have, of course, Google Spreadsheet and other tools which helps you to get the job done, create charts. And this is also behind the scene. They do calculations, do a fancy math where you don't really need to understand how it works. You call a method and then it works. And also tools like this. This is the Automator app. It's on every Macintosh, and it helps you also to automate stuff on your machine. So it's a default standard application where you also don't have to code anything. You just configure it, drag and drop. If a file changed the name, then move it to this folder or open it in application and so on. So this helps you also to, at the end, build a small application to automate stuff and make life and work easier. And this picture just would like to give you an overview what is happening out there. You have already like a no-code university on Hello Guru, so you find sources about no-code. You find here the state of code, no-code ecosystem. You have a lot of startups, not only startups, but also corporate or tech companies like Microsoft. They have their own tool. They have now Amazon, Oracle is working on, have it. So it's nothing new. But it's pretty, I think, augmenting and starting. Yeah. So, of course, also blockchain has found it that software development or coding is quite complex, and that we can pass this on to Stefan and give introduction about the SettleMint platform, what you guys are doing in this low-code, no-code field.
Yes, thank you, Nan, for this introduction. Before I start, I'd just like to quickly introduce myself, but also have my colleagues introduce themselves. So would it be possible for you to stop sharing your screen, Nan, so that we can see yours? Thanks. So I'm Stefan. I'm here with my colleague Andy and Jonathan, but maybe I'll let them introduce themselves first, just quickly. So Andy or Jonathan.
Yes, I can go first. So hi, I'm Andy. I'm 35 years old, living and working in a nice city of Berlin, and yeah, I'm responsible within SettleMint for the contact with the business customers. So I'm the responsible guy for the whole sales cycle to drive things forward within the DACH region. So. Okay, that's it.
I'm Jonathan from Belgium. I'm an electromechanical engineer turned developer, and got interested in Bitcoin and blockchain quite a long time ago. And I've been playing around with a lot of stuff, including in the private blockchain space, Hyperledger Fabric and private Ethereum and that kind of things. And I'm developer in the SettleMint team. Working on the platform, on the deployments, but also on the smart contracts, and trying to increase the things we support. I'm working now on implementing Fabric in the platform as well.
Great. And so hello everyone. Thank you for taking the time to come to this meetup. It's a pleasure to be here with you. My name is Stefan. I'm 26 years old, German national, but I was born in the US, so I lived a long time of my life actually outside of Germany. And I've been part of SettleMint's growth team since about almost a little bit more than a year, and working together with Andy to conquer the DACH region. So we're very happy to have met our accomplices, Christian and Yen, who are helping us spread the word about blockchain and also what business value that the SettleMint platform can mean for companies that want to make it as easy as possible to work with blockchain. Quickly, before I share the slides, I also want to introduce my CEO. His name is Matthew. He's also in the call, but he's in the car, so I'll just go ahead and introduce him quickly. So Matthew is actually the CEO and co-founder of SettleMint, who, together with Roderick, our CTO, founded SettleMint in 2016. Because for him, he was working at a bank called KBC, and it was very difficult for him in the blockchain competency center to actually build and implement blockchain projects, applications. So he wanted to develop a solution that made it very easy to actually work with blockchain technologies. And so that's how the SettleMint was born, and how going from that mission, that's also the way we've been developing the platform to make it as easy as possible to work with blockchain. So I've created this presentation with a quick agenda, also slightly covering some of the points that Yen made. So why are low-code platforms important? What are the challenges that many companies face when wanting to work with blockchain? Then also included a high-level overview of some solutions in Germany, and as well then, of course, the platform demo, and afterwards the references. And please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them interactively at any point. So why are low-code platforms important? Yeah, Nyan mentioned it. Of course, companies want to actually, you know, they want to gain value from the technology without having to deal with the complexities of the technology. So they don't want to be worried with configuring different tools and things like that. They just want to be able to use the technology in order to gain value from it. And as Jan mentioned, low-code and no-code platforms are actually a growing trend in different industries. And I've included a link to an article that he wrote, which is very interesting if you want to read a little bit more about that. And then, of course, in the blockchain space, there is a shortage of blockchain developers on the market, which makes it very difficult for companies to find the skills that they need in order to develop their blockchain competencies in-house. And so that's why also blockchain platform can be quite easy and a good solution for these companies. And then the lack of blockchain expertise in the market, of course, creates more competition. So we, as you know, there's an organization called Gartner, which is a worldwide research organization, and they've actually come up with, you know, 3 conclusions. They've said, okay, so blockchain technology is ready to be implemented, and it can have a great impact for companies, but unfortunately, only a small amount of companies actually manage to implement their blockchain applications in production. And so if we look at that, well, what could that reason be? And part of that is that it takes the companies almost 10 to 15 months, well, 9 to 15, and now with Corona, it could be a little bit longer of time to actually go from the use case identification to the proof of concept stage. And only about 5% of these companies make it into production. And so you ask yourself the question, well, why is this? So we've identified from our experience 2 different areas. First one is more technically related. So for example, you, as I mentioned previously, you don't have enough blockchain developers on the market.
Yep.
So was there a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, was not a question. It was just an agreement, I think.
Deswegen will ich das doch hören. Das Blöde ist, ich habe jetzt in 7 Minuten einen Physiothermin.
I think I mute her. Okay.
Yeah, great, thanks. So there's a shortage of developers, there's competition in the market, and there can also be sometimes challenges between companies since they have to work together in order to gain value from the technology. And so there can be some communication issues as well. And then more on an application side, oftentimes there's quite a large hurdle for different stakeholders in a blockchain network to actually integrate the applications with the underlying technology and their existing systems, which can cause them to be stuck in a proof of concept phase for quite a long time and draw out the life cycle of a blockchain project. And then also in comparison, if you want to hire blockchain developers yourself, it's going to be much more expensive than if you would use a platform like the SettleMint's blockchain platform to make it very easy to actually build and implement blockchain applications. So I've created kind of a high-level overview of some of the solution providers and solutions that we've seen in the German market, but as well a bit more broadly. And you know, this is just to give you a real high-level overview. So we have one company, for example, Unibright, that has developed a no-code solution where you can drag and drop different kind of components in order to sketch a process. But then, of course, there's always the risk, at least in the way I see it, is if you use a no-code solution, you need to be 100% sure that you trust the way that the code is being created by the program. So that's just a different approach. And then also what's interesting, about the Unibright platform is that they do have a token that you need to buy in order to use the functionalities of the system. Then we also have a company called Ubirch, which is focusing on securing IoT data on the blockchain. Of course, everyone knows IBM. They have different solutions, one of which is, for example, Trade Trust that uses Hyperledger Fabric. And then also we have the SettleMint low-code solution, which I'm happy to give you a bit more of an insight about during this webinar. And what we really focus is the fact that we make it as easy as possible to work with blockchain technologies by taking away the technical complexity. And this enables us to realize a time to market of about 2 months when you use the platform. How can you envision what we're doing at SettleMint? We say we work along 3 pillars. So we help to accelerate the time to market for the blockchain applications by removing the complexity and doing this at an comparatively lower cost than if you wanted to do everything yourself in-house.
Stefan?
Yeah?
One short question. There's a question from Jörg Schneider. He asks if you could compare shortly the system with Kaleido.
Yeah, so I understand that Kaleido they offer, they're working on the Ethereum blockchain, so they offer, I believe, blockchain as a service solutions. Jonathan, do you know a little bit more about Kaleido? Maybe you can share.
To me, like Kaleido, they help you, but you will see in the demonstration what we offer here, but they help you deploy your network, but they don't help you as much as we do with all the integration stuff and all the contract stuff that we offer. But in principle, it's blockchain as a service as well. So it's similar. It's kind of a competitor, yes.
Yeah. So exactly. So one way that you can visualize what we're doing is just by this comparison. So what WordPress does for websites and Stripe does for payments, we've done for blockchain technologies. And of course, the best way to demonstrate this is just to show you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So what I want to just show is, yeah, this is our website, and you can actually try our platform for free for 14 days by just clicking on the free demo button here. So if you wanted to actually get your hands dirty and try it out yourself, then that's completely possible. Let me just bear with me for 1 sec while I log in. Here we go. Okay, so once you've created your account, this is the landing page that you come to. And so when companies want to work with blockchain technologies, they are immediately faced by a few different hurdles, which I'll get into right now. So the first one is that it's made very difficult for them to actually create a consortium and invite different members to that consortium. And so what we've done is we've made this a click process. So essentially you just click on new consortium, you give it a name. So for example, Trade Finance Network. Then you get an ID for that consortium. You click on next. And now you can actually just choose which protocol you would like to use in that consortium. So we support Enterprise Ethereum. For Hyperledger, we support Besu. And we're also working, as Jonathan mentioned, to integrate Fabric and as well Indy in the coming months. And for Corda, we of course support Corda, and we're working on the Arthur integration as well. But our most advanced Ethereum, tech stack is with Enterprise Ethereum at the moment. So you just click Ethereum, then you click on Besu, and what you can actually do is you can, if this was important for the use case, you can modify things like the gas price or even the block time. So you just input the modifications that you want here, and then you just click on continue. So once you've selected the consortium configuration that you want, you just click on confirm here, and then on finish. And so what we've done now is we've actually just created an empty consortium where you can now invite different members to this network. And so in order to do that, we've made it very easy. You just click on members here, then you click on new member, and then you can invite anyone to this consortium by simply inputting an email address. So anyone with an email address can be joined. You choose the rights that you want that person to have, and then you click on finish here. And so now Indy will receive an email where he can, in a click-through process, gain access to this consortium. So that's the first problem that we solved, is creating a consortium, but no magic has happened here yet. We're going to get into the magic in just a second. So let me just find the cursor. Yeah, so we just created the trade finance network. I'm going into the deployment. And so in our platform, a deployment is a cluster of nodes that each individual consortium member will have in order to be able to actually participate in the blockchain network. And to make this very easy, we've made it also a click-through process. So all you do is you click on member, you give the person that participant a name, and now you can choose in which environment you want the nodes to be hosted. So we offer different cloud service options, but also in on-premise support. So you simply just click which cloud service provider you want to use, and then also in which region you want your nodes, the data to be hosted. And very interesting to note is each participant in the network can choose their own configuration. So it's very flexible to work with the different systems of the members. And of course, we offer the shared environment. So this is good for testing out new project ideas. Then we offer the dedicated cloud environment. So only where you have a dedicated cloud environment that's only being used by yourself if you want to do proof of concepts, for example. And if you have already an existing cloud subscription, then you can do an on-premise. So you can actually run the source code in your own computers to have an on-premise deployment. So this is really making it as easy as possible to launch a blockchain infrastructure. So you just click what you want, then you click on next, and here you have the different services that you can choose for the to deploy on those in that consortium. So on your deployment, and these different services, the whole point of these services is to make it even easier to work with the technology. So for example, the enterprise Ethereum middleware contains the API integration layer as well as a zero configuration management UI that system administrators can use to manage the network. We have an IPFS integration to store all of the files that you want to upload in the network. We have an integrated developer environment that makes it very easy to use smart contracts because it provides smart contract templates that you can change to save you about 4 to 6 months of development time when you're launching a blockchain application.
Stefan?
Yeah?
We have one question from Marius.
Yeah.
If you are fine, probably answer the question if possible. Otherwise, yeah. Jonathan. So Marius is asking whether as soon you deploy a shared host or server, is it possible to SSH onto the server to debug it? Do you understand the question?
Do we offer that service easily to the user?
So as Stefan showed, for example, we have AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure. So usually they will build a server, right? And then question for Marius is whether if it's going via your system that a developer can SSH, also remotely access it via the SSH channel to check or debug the system.
So it's not as easy as there is just one server and you can SSH. Like we use Kubernetes and there are like maybe 20 containers that are deployed every time you deploy a network. You have like 4 blockchain, 4 Bezo nodes, or 4 Bezo nodes, for example, each on in their container. You have the middleware, you have the IPFS node, the IDE, you have the consortium management node, and so on. And it's like we give you the access information for the Ethereum node, I think, or at least I know that we are doing it for Fabric. But we don't give you like all the access points for everything. But this is something interesting to think about. But yeah, you have to consider that this is like 20 containers with crazy configuration that talk to each other. So it's not that easy to debug. But you can enter your Ethereum node, which is maybe the most important one. I think you get the access information there.
Yeah, I think it's also feasible. It's also about compliance. I mean, at the end, if a developer is breaking the container, then the platform is not working anymore.
Yeah, there is a high chance. Yes.
Yeah.
but I mean, if you do it, I mean, it's technically possible, and if you do it on premise, yeah, I mean, it's definitely technically possible, and it can be handled for sure. But it's like in the platform, you will not easily find like all the SSH information for all the containers. They are all on different kind of environments and that kind of things.
But for the case, it should happen that a developer destroys a container. I think it's possible that, I mean, in the Hyperledger Fabric universe, when one container is some kind of broken, it should get the information back from the other containers after restarting it again.
So in the middleware, you will see also that there are all kinds of, actually even in the launchpad, you have all kinds of statistics and all kind of tools to manage to see the health of your network. And in Fabric, like for sure, I give you the access to directly enter. You have also the logs that are accessible, like I think for almost everything. Yeah, but I think you will see maybe some tools that you can use to check the health of your network as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Nian, for bringing the question to my attention. So yeah, so we were going over the services that you have, and yeah, we also offer anchoring. So essentially, you choose the services that you want, then you click on next, and you confirm the selections, and then you click on deploy. And so actually, in about less than half an hour, this blockchain infrastructure will be deployed. So yeah, since we don't want to wait half an hour, I've actually gone ahead and deployed one previously. So when you go into the consortium, you immediately get kind of the first statistics. So you have, you know, blockchain, a block explorer here as well to help you find information that you may want to find. And then when you go to deployments, you can click on, so in this case, it's the Auto Parts Supply Chain Consortium. This is just an example. Then you have ZF Group, which is a German auto part manufacturer. And then they can immediately see how much of their storage is being utilized at any point in time. And so when the storage utilization gets between 80 and 100%, then you have a button here that automatically comes up that you can add more storage so that your nodes aren't burdened as heavily. And then, of course, we want to look at the services that we've selected. So we offer here some network statistics, which I can show you. So here you can actually see the nodes that have been deployed in that cluster, which is cool if you want to access them. Then you can also see the other services that you've selected. So for example, the IDE, the integrated developer environments, which is it makes it very easy to actually build and deploy smart contracts. So when you go into this environment, you can see that it's being hosted in the browser, which makes it very convenient for many companies that don't want to actually allow you to download other tools from external sources to be using when you're coding. So it's available in the browser, but I also know from conversation with our CTO, Roderick, that you can also link this to an external developer environment if your developers want to use their, the user interfaces that they've been coding in and feel comfortable with. But if you want more details about how that works technically, then feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to share that information with you. So essentially, the integrated developer environment saves you about 4 to 6 months of development time, because we've included different smart contracts templates that you can see here. So you can actually just go into the bill of lading smart contract, for example, and you get the template here, which you just have to change and adapt in order to more closely fit your process. And so once you've configured your smart contracts, you have these action buttons here at the bottom where you can compile all the contracts, you can migrate them, and then also integrate them into the middleware. So the business value of this is that it saves you a lot of time, between 4 to 6 months of developing, to make it as easy and as quick as possible for you to actually, code smart contracts and integrate them into your blockchain network. Just a quick question, are there any more questions up until this point, or does anyone have any questions that I could answer?
Yeah, Jörg has a question, but he asked to add it after the demo. So we will just, yeah.
Great. Yeah, so this is the integrated developer environment. Then, of course, once we've launched the infrastructure, we've created a consortium. I've shown you how you can adapt smart contract templates to more quickly implement your use case. And now we want to go into the Ethereum middleware. So the admin interface that system administrators can use to actually manage the system. And so what you see here is the heartbeat monitor for this blockchain network. You see the block time, the block count, you see the blocks that are being mined. And these kind of modules are completely configurable. So if you want to put some other information here, that's also possible. On the left side, you have here the block explorer. You can also query the information based on the transactions or even on events. And here on the left-hand side, you see the different smart contracts that have been integrated from the integrated developer environment into the system. So we have those that are more token related, so like currency contracts, for example. But we also have those that are more state or that are more process related, like, for example, we can take the supply chain finance. So what you do if you want to actually see a visualization of this smart contract, you just go here, and then you can see. Let me zoom in a bit. Wait, this is quite small. Well, yeah, you can see the visualization of the underlying smart contracts, and what's happening here is this middleware is looking through the smart contracts and it's identifying the endpoints, and then it's automatically creating this visualization. Let me just go to a different one that may be a bit more easy to see. Hopefully this one's a bit bigger. Okay, yeah, it's a bit better. And so the cool thing about this is that you can actually transition from one state to the next by either scanning a QR code or completely automating this process via APIs. So this can be, the whole flow of the process can be completely automated, which makes it very easy for every participant in the network to maintain a transparent overview of how a process is developing at any point in time. And since I'm logged in as an administrator, I can transition through every state, but only those parties that have the permissions will be able to do so in a live implementation. And then we also have the API docs, which makes it very easy to actually integrate the application with other systems, because the APIs, there are zero configuration REST APIs, are automatically generated that developers can use to easily integrate. And so this is generated automatically based on the smart contracts that you're using. And we have really quite an extensive library of APIs that are documented in Swagger that can be used by blockchain developers or by normal developers who don't need blockchain experience in order to actually integrate the systems. So that's
this was one of the question of which Jörg had. So this is because he asked whether there's a REST API available. So this should answer the question from Jörg.
Great.
And it's important to know that, like, in the IDE, Stefan talked about, like, you can migrate some existing contract, but actually you can write like any contract you want in Solidity, and you will migrate it to this platform with one button, and some basic UI will automatically appear, and the API will automatically appear, like all your public variables will be available, all your public functions will be available, will follow the permission logic that you implemented.
Thanks. Yep. So it definitely does make it as easy as possible to work with the technology in a whole wide of different ways. So this is the main points of the user admin interface, which we see here. So I've shown you the dashboard, the different smart contracts that you can implement into the system, and also the API layer that we have. And if you if you actually want to integrate so the blockchain applications, we also have another service which we included just recently, and this is called the Integration Studio. So let me just log in quickly. Exactly. So what the Integration Studio does is it's a different visualization tool that makes it very easy to connect a full process. So connect systems that are not necessarily using APIs with a blockchain application that you've created. I don't know, Jonathan, if you have any more details about this from a technical perspective. Okay, so yeah.
Hey, Stefan?
Yeah?
Sorry.
Matthew. Yeah, maybe I would just add one or two other remarks about the Integration Studio, and then Jonathan, over to you if you have more to add. This is built on a platform called Node-RED. The reason we selected that is that there are a lot of already pre-existing integration modules within that. So if you want to integrate, for example, with SAP HANA, this supports that fully. So we used this as a framework to build the Integration Studio for simply the reason that there's a lot of pre-built integrations that are available.
Yes, and we add like boxes from our platform, so that you can easily integrate all our APIs and so on within your integration flow.
Yep. So this is making it as easy as possible to also integrate, to continue the integration of the apps with the underlying systems and other systems as well. Yep. So I would say this is, so I've shown you how we can deploy an infrastructure, create a consortium, how you can adapt smart contract templates to make it very easy to actually build processes. And then the API layer and the user admin interface with which system administrators can manage the system. And then now the Integration Studio that makes it very easy to integrate the application with external systems as well. So I'm wondering, maybe are there some questions that I could answer in the meantime, or was everything quite clear?
Yeah. Jörg has one question. He asked about SAP integration on HANA, especially on the database level or ABAP level. So this is more technical and related to enterprise SAP solutions. So not sure whether Jonathan can answer this question or Matthew.
I'm not sure, because our use of this studio is quite recent. I've been working in the past with integration with SAP.
Yeah.
It's always really hard, but as Matthew says, there is like existing tools in this Node-RED that we use for this Integration Studio, but I didn't already fully test them.
Okay.
So I cannot tell you in detail yet.
Yeah. Jörg raised the hand. He would like to talk. So Feel free, Jörg, to specify your question, I guess. But your microphone, I think you don't have mic. So you raise your hand because of the question you had in the chat, right? Okay.
Yep. Okay, so are there any other questions, or maybe should I continue with the references then?
Stefan, maybe just to, I wonder if we can walk through the integration studio. If you can pull that up again for a second.
Sure.
And,
there we go.
okay, and the hamburger menu on the top of the screen. No,
right-hand side.
Very top, right-hand side.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then under Manage Palette, towards there we are. Yeah, and then Install. And if you just type in SAP. Yeah, so there's a little bit of information there, but it won't tell us, I think, to the level of detail that you're looking for, Jörg. But it's a Node-RED contribution, SAP HANA, Node-RED access to SAP HANA database, it says.
Yeah. And I guess that should be probable also to add your custom integration.
Yep. Yeah, indeed. Okay. So I'll let me just okay, yeah, so I just wanted to show that I think there's something like over 2,000 different pre-built.
You see here right now here, Stefan, like the 1.24 Node-RED contribution SAP HANA, so HANA database. This should partially answer the question from Jörg, and then feel free to.
The answer is theoretically yes.
Yes.
But we need to try it further. Yes.
Yes, because the integration studio just recently has been launched, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
So this is a job
we cannot test all integrations, all 2,000.
Yeah,
modules,
sure.
But we're happy to help with people who need help there.
So Jörg and I think Andy, Stefan, you can follow up this after the call. And I guess, Jörg, you can follow up with Andy. He would be the person in contact to talk more about this use case.
Yep, I've noted the question. We'll get back to you with the full answer soon.
Yeah. So, yep. But I think a few words we can mention here for the integration studio. At the end of the day, if we are in the enterprise field, that it's always a pain in the ass to integrate stuff. So as myself, Christian, we have worked with Fabric, Hyperledger Fabric, and integrating it to SAP, or we have done it integrating into logistics software that you get data from them, and this is always a hassle. And you have different standards of data formats, and then you have to map it with the data which you have on your blockchain side. So you have the REST API, and if you do it all of it manually, it takes additional time besides the developing the smart contract itself and the REST API. This is, let's say, more work than the actual logic on the blockchain side. So this is my personal observation and experience with integrations.
Yeah, and one thing I also want to mention, we work with different system integrators, like Fujitsu, for example, who can help with this integration, especially since they have extensive experience in that domain. So if there's ever a need to get some more support on the integration side, then we already have an established network of system integrators that we can help, who can help us with that. So maybe, Jörg, that would be also interesting to know, and I'm happy to share more details with you as well after the meetup.
I have another question regarding the management of the consortium. So my question is there a possibility to adjust the consortium Well, for example, what can I do if someone wants to leave the consortium, or can I? Is it possible to add other people or organizations to it?
Well, oops, sorry. Let me just go back. So I know that you can add different people into the consortium if you have their email address.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also possible to delete yourself out of the consortium if you want to, if you no longer wish to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as integrating other, well, if you want to integrate other organizations into the consortium, then you would have to actually, I believe, create another deployment for them so that they can be part of the network.
Mm-hmm.
So that's as far as actually integrating people, you can do that with the email address function that I've shown you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to integrate other organizations who should be part of that network, then yes, then you would need to deploy another node cluster for them.
Oh, you can invite members to the consortium, and then they can deploy their node, and it will be added to the consortium. And you can also delete a node from the consortium. Yes.
Okay.
And in this case, like, they will all be part of the same Ethereum blockchain network, and so all the smart contracts will be in the network. And for Corda and Fabric, because you need to install an app on your channel. In Corda, I don't remember the name. It's not a channel, but it's the same principle. We also offer the possibility, like, to share app and to tell the other members of the consortium that they need to install this app on the channel, and everything is also automated. Yeah.
Okay, just asking because I can remember that it was really painful to describe, to define a consortium before deploying it, and
oh yes,
I don't even know if we added other organizations after deploying it. So I think that we had to define everything and before doing it.
Yes, well,
that's why I'm asking.
It's hard to do, but we do it for Bezu. And for Fabric as well. That was super hard. It's not yet in the platform, but we did it, like, technically super hard. You need to update Genesis channels, and you need everybody to agree on the update of the Genesis channel and so on. But in the end, we did it as well.
Okay, cool.
I think let's go on with the use cases.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. All right, let's go. So yeah, so this is just another walkthrough of the platform that you just saw. Quickly, what sets us apart is, yeah, just as additional information. So our platform makes it as easy as possible to work with blockchain technologies, as you've seen. We also provide different educational materials about different business value and different use cases of blockchain. So if you want to learn more about that, feel free to look at one of our webinars or ebooks on our website. And then we also have a team of blockchain professionals. And there's Jonathan right there, who are helping us with continuously working on expanding the functionalities of the platform. Quickly, so how would the implementation cycle look like for blockchain projects? So it would be, first, we don't really focus on consultancy. So but we do offer a discovery and analysis kind of service where we would help companies identify whether or not their use case idea is something for blockchain. But we're working also with other partners who offer these services. The network deployment happens quite quickly, as you've seen, and the platform development and integration can also happen in a matter of weeks, let you actually go from zero to implemented blockchain project in production in about 2 months, which is incredible when you think about how long it takes to do everything manually. So yes, going into the references. So we have a number of references. The first one is with Commerzbank. This was actually Commerzbank Financial Markets and Börse Stuttgart and T0 in 2017. And so the problem that the Commerzbank had was that they were paying a lot of transaction fees to a third party, the Central Securities Depository, to actually manage information about who was owning which assets and when these assets were exchanged. And so because of these high fees, the Commerzbank's business model in some regions wasn't profitable. And so they wanted to actually use, reduce the dependency on this party and use a DLT network, a blockchain network, in order to replace the trust in the other organization, rather into the technology. And so what they were able to do was they were able to save about 4 million euros in transaction fees and increase the efficiency of the process that they were running. And this wasn't a live in production project, but since this department of the Commerzbank was sold to HSBC, this is no longer in production at the moment. So then we also have another use case where we are working with Carrefour, which is like the Belgian equivalent to Rewe in Germany. And the problem that they were having was that they lost a lot of trust from their consumers because they were selling meat that wasn't actually bio, but it was being marketed and sold as bio. And so what they did now is they've actually put a lot of details about the pigs, and when they were born, what foods they were eating, when was the meat processed, and how did it actually get to the shelves where the consumers take it. And so all of this information is very transparently communicated to the consumer via QR code on the packaging. And so this resulted in a 10% revenue increase in that product category after the implementation. So we also have, and that was also this project, the Carrefour project is in production at the moment. Then we have we're working with the biggest HR company in Belgium called SD Works. And what they're doing is, the problem that they had was they wanted to reduce the administrative burden of actually issuing the pay slips, so that pay slips that employees receive every month, and also make it very easy for employers to check that their pay slips that their potential employees are showing them are the correct ones and haven't been tampered with. And so what they're using our technology for is to actually anchor these pay slips onto the blockchain to make them verifiable via the hashes. And so they actually were able to reduce the possibility for these people to fraudulently change their pay slips after the fact, and also increase the efficiency of their pay slip generation and issuance process. And one more, one of our biggest clients is Standard Chartered Bank. And so we have a few projects running with them. One of them is the peer-to-peer digital assets issuance and exchange platform that they've built on top of our blockchain platform as a service. And so what they the problems that they were facing is that when they issued a bond, the process of actually identifying who owns this bond can be quite tricky when companies default on that bond, because oftentimes hundreds of investors are investing in this bond, so figuring out who bought how much is very time consuming. And they also didn't want to, they wanted to give their customers the opportunity to trade financial assets even when the exchanges are closed, so the normal stock markets are closed. So that's why also they decided to issue these assets on the blockchain, so that they can be traded on the exchange that they've created, and then also make it very easy to reconcile who was owning which portion of the bond if at any point in time the bank if the bank would ever default. And so this also enabled them to realize tremendous cost savings and enabled them to improve the customer experience by giving their customers the opportunity to trade assets 24/7 instead of only when the exchanges were open normally. Yep, so these are just a few of the references that we have. Of course, if you'd like to learn more about specific references in other domains, then I'm happy to share that information. But at the moment, these are the ones that I've shared. Are there any questions currently about any of these projects?
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So for the use cases, when you name one brand name like Standard or Commerzbank, do they really use the platform with multiple consortium members?
So as far as the Commerzbank project, that was, let me just go back to it. This was with Commerzbank, Börse Stuttgart, and T0. So the parties that were involved in this project, as far as I'm aware, were just Commerzbank and Börse Stuttgart. So this was two parties. So yeah, in this case, it was only two. But you know, the question you may be asking yourself is, well, how can we be sure that the information wasn't changed or that it's still valid? And I think, you know, the logical answer to that question is, it's in the best interest of Commerzbank and Börse Stuttgart to handle the details in the correct way, because that's how that's part of their, you know, business model and how they're, you know, making money. So that's why it wouldn't make sense for them to change the details afterwards.
And yeah.
Matthew, could you give a bit more insight about the Standard Chartered implementation if you're still on the line?
Yeah, still here. Yeah, sure. I think as with a lot of use cases, yeah, they start with one or two parties to get going. I think there are, of course, consortia that have, you know, in the trade finance area, you know, 15, 20 members in it, but they typically don't start from that point. What just as a practical example, there's a platform now called WeTrade. That's for trade finance, and you know, that initiative got started when I was working at KBC Bank before starting SettleMint, and you know, the very early days we were working on it kind of independently as KBC, but of course it's really about the vision that the different parties that are in there that are utilizing the technology. You know, we're usually the first ones to tell clients, like, if you're not thinking of engaging or building this into an ecosystem platform, then just use a database, because it doesn't make sense, right? So, but they quite often, to get it to the point of having an MVP or something that's used in a pilot context, it's important for one or two parties to really take the lead in getting it to that level. And you know, typically what happens after that is that they get interest from a number of other parties, and then look at the structure, set up a joint venture between the different parties or an independent company, and then bring members on. So it's kind of a phasing thing. So the example given for Commerzbank and Börse Stuttgart, their vision was to use that to offer the platform as a service to other issuers of the product in focus. There was exchange traded products, or ETPs, but you know, Commerzbank is one of the biggest issuers. BNP Paribas is another big one. There's about 5 or 6 big issuers in Europe that do ETPs, and their aim was not, of course, Börse Stuttgart has in its holding, I think, about 7 or 8 different exchanges across Europe. So you know, a starting point is maybe with 2 parties, the issuer and the exchange. But the plan on a longer term perspective is to roll it out as an ecosystem solution.
Okay, thanks. I think this matches also with our observation. So when we coded, that usually start with, so one organization has the idea to use blockchain, then you have a lot of discussions with additional partners, especially when you have this use case in the supply chain, or the food tracking or meat provenance tracking of meat, that you at the end have multiple parties who are involved. And so I understand now, okay, that you're involved in the early phase. So it's not the case that the consortium exists and then you are kicking in, or you are pulled in to provide only the technical solution, but you're involved in the early phase, as I understand. So this would be my second question, that at which phase are you involved? Are people also asking you to guide them, as you have shown in the previous slides, that there are special services like consulting, right, training in the discovery phase? This is also the question which Ronald asked. is that which kind of people are involved in those examples which you just shared with us. So which roles do they have? Are those like innovation guys who really would like to do fancy stuff, right? So, or are those settled old guys, or people who say, okay, now let's do some blockchain? Or describe a little bit the people who make the decision, and at the end also who get trained to use the platform.
Yeah, sure. So the I guess the most accurate answer is it kind of depends a bit, use case by use case, and so it's not that it's not a repeated formula for every client that we've worked with. You know, for SDWorks, that was starting out with the deputy CIO of the group, who has operational responsibilities and wears kind of an innovation hat on the side. So he had already, nice example where companies start to really see value in our solution is when they've already tried it themselves. So SDWorks is a good example. They'd done a POC internally, and they were ready to, they were pleased with the results. And then they said, okay, let's scale that up to the level where we need it, which was, I think, 12 million records in a what was it, a 3-hour period or something like that need to be processed. And they built kind of a bespoke solution using multi-chain. And when their team tried to scale it up to the level that they needed, they hit the wall very hard. So they made the conclusion that, okay, we need to look for some outside support. And they looked first to IBM and then to us. And that feature that was shown earlier, the zero configuration APIs, is probably the single factor that convinced them to choose us over IBM, because they looked at it and they said, well, that was something that we had to do development wise on top of what IBM is offering. That was 3 to 4 months work for 3 guys. So, you know, in that case, it was the deputy CIO. Carrefour, that one came through one of our systems integration partners who was working, and they Carrefour in Belgium had seen what Carrefour France is doing with IBM and said, we'd like to do that as well, because we have a bit of an issue from a reputation perspective or trust perspective. And they asked their systems integration partner to help them with that. And the system integration partner had planned to do, you know, a 6-month project to figure out how to make blockchain work and within such an application. And they came to us and we said, okay, you know, in fact, that's one of the, I think that one we set a record. They took 3 months to build the end user application. They did the blockchain integration in a weekend and 4 days of testing. So they were able to, it still took them 3 months to build an app, but to do the actual integration on the blockchain side was just, you know, in about a week and a half, they had everything fully integrated and tested. In that case, so that one, who was involved, we were contacted by the systems integration company, and they did the integration for Carrefour. There are, you know, Standard Chartered is with their security services department, and that one, the decision maker is more of an innovation profile, but has also commercial targets for bringing back-end capital market solutions to the market. So we do see a lot of the tech profiles involved, as well as some of the innovation guys. And that's usually after the business has said, okay, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do with this technology? Can it help us in some way? But it's usually either the innovation side or the tech side that comes to us.
Mm-hmm. Ronald, I guess. So Ronald, does this answer your question, I think? So you have another question. So it's no code, but not no tech. Yeah, the platform is a low code platform, so SettleMint. So there are 2 different approaches. And to answer your question, so it's not no tech, it's no low code. And then Marius has some questions. So those are more going to the technical depth. It's the first question, is it possible to use Klich instead of BFT2? So I think this question is for Jonathan.
So basically, it's a choice that we make. So basically, we implemented IBFT 2, and yeah, so it's. I mean, we could have chosen Klich, or we could develop further to have Klich integration if needed. But like we made the choice to have IBFT. Like same for Fabric, you could use Kafka or Raft, and we decided to do Raft. Yes, doesn't mean we cannot do it with Kafka. Like our first proof of concept were with Kafka as well. I have to say I don't really know what are the benefits of Klich versus IBFT, to be honest with you.
Okay, I mean, it's a fair answer. At the end, you need to make a decision to have a standard consensus algorithm.
Yes, and I mentioned 4 nodes, so yeah, so there you can guess that we do IBFT. I'm guessing that Klich maybe it's not the same. And for the second question, can I manage my own node? Yes, the platform is dependent on the RPRC provided by Bezu. That's what we use. So that should be studied, but that's not what we implemented. Yeah.
Okay, and then another question from Jörg. Any plans for the platform to support ZK snark execution?
Yeah, we've been looking at ZK snarks for about 18 months already, researching it to see, you know, in what way would we implement it in the platform. We haven't done it yet, but yeah, it's probably going to come. Jonathan, are you ready for that?
Yes.
Yeah. But I think it was investigated for another project, and it was decided to do something else. But we are interested in this for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So in the previous chats, we had already questions which has been answered. It was about the REST API. This has been answered. Then we had Karin, who asked for the student access. I think, not sure whether Andy or Matthew, you have the contact details from Karin. Otherwise, let me know. I have her contacts because she's a frequent participant in our meetups. Then I think that's it. Otherwise, Marius has another question.
Can I maybe just to Ronald's point about, so it's no code but no tech, but not no tech. Indeed, and that's a very deliberate choice. There are some examples. One of them, Stefan highlighted in his comparison. Unibright, for example, they have kind of like the Node-RED kind of a integration studio that we showed. Unibright has built a platform whereby, as an analyst or an architect, I can drag and drop onto a palette the different steps and make all the connections. So that's a no-code platform. But you know what we kind of, and all going back to 2016, that's something that we talked about doing when we were starting SettleMint. But it was, you know, we don't believe that enterprise will, like the clients that we really focus on, are going to be putting into production something that an analyst did without a hardcore tech guy having a look at it first. So we think there's, you know, we don't at this point foresee adding that kind of a functionality because we don't think that our enterprise clients are let's say looking for that level of abstraction. So we've already done prototypes of it. But we don't think that our enterprise clients are ready to take that step and say, okay, because ultimately there's a difference between, you know, a website in a no-code format versus something that's dealing with people's identity and transactions. It's a different level in a sense. So we've already experimented on that level, but have decided strategically not to go that far.
Okay. So this would go also with the question which I had with Stefan at the now our once preparation call. So why not going fully no code? Because at the end, if you have already the templates, right, and then having a workflow builder like Unibright has, that you have only like flexible variable parameters which can be replaced. I guess this would be technical feasible or implementable. However, then you don't have the transparency, or you provide the option to have the transparency how the smart contracts are generated and how they look like, and then give still the option or freedom to edit it. So this was my point of view regarding no code, really, that you have a no tag stack.
Yeah. We evaluate that decision regularly, so we'll see where we are in
I mean, yeah, I think we're not in the stage yet, right? As the technology and also the is still evolving. You have always new updates with Fabric or Ethereum. You have new version numbers, and then I think it would be a hell of work to be on that speed with a platform like SettleMint.
Yeah, indeed.
So Jörg has one question. So Marius, okay, Jonathan, I see that you already answered a question in the chat for Marius' question. Then Jörg has another question. Do you guys have an eye on the consensus Microsoft EY baseline protocol initiative? Unibright is well involved there. So my personal note is that I'm in contact with Stefan, another Stefan from Unibright. So he would probably be with us in one of the next meetup, but we don't have the confirmation yet. So he's heavily involved with baseline protocol and the integrations. So they have done right now, I think, a use case announced with the Coca-Cola deal, but I'm not sure whether Matthew or Stefan, you are aware of the baseline protocol, what's going on there?
Not on my end, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, from my side, following from a distance, I would put it that way.
Okay.
So could you repeat the question? I'm not sure I understood.
So there's a product, it's called baseline protocol. It's a workforce from the Ethereum Alliance. So they building a protocol, it's in the version 0.1 right now, and it's specifically for enterprise integration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they'll pretty quickly be a competitor for us.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, it's again a protocol which can anyone can use and integrate. Yeah, it's a protocol. Yeah.
Yeah. Understood. I think with the other parties that are involved with it, that'll become a competitor. that was my point about a competitor. So if I look at the other members that are involved in it, their consensus, for example, is someone that we would typically consider a competitor.
Okay. I mean, at the end, they just migrated or merged with Quorum, right, from JP Morgan.
Yep.
Indeed.
Okay.
So
folks, any other critical questions?
If you want to get in touch with us, you can just send us either an email at Stefan@SettleMint, so STEFAN@SettleMint.com, or Andy@SettleMint, or Jonathan@SettleMint, or Matthew@SettleMint. So it's very simple. We're happy to share more information with you, and thank you again for your time, and thank you, Nien and Christian, for helping us organize this meeting.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us here, and let's see where SettleMint is moving in the next 6 or 12 months. Hope you win your first client soon here in Germany or in the DACH region, so that you can share us this story. probably in one of the 2021 sessions. Before we fading out the session, can I take over the screen share? Yeah, I'll take it over, and then would like to draw the attention to one of our next meetup, and this will be hold on, that on 24th of September we will have an open discussion about the question or the answer: is the blockchain really a database? So we have one person from Berlin. He has a meetup. I forgot this name. Christian, do you have it?
Yeah, Stefan Adolf.
Stefan Adolf. He also regularly joined our meetups in the last few times when we had our DeFi meetups, and we had a nice discussion on Twitter, and that's why we decided to have a meetup to talk really about the definition of database and the comparison. I think this will be a very hot and long discussion. So feel free to join us on 24th. So we will announce it on meetup.com. And then 1 week later or 2 weeks later, on 6th October, we are going to introduce Open Law. So Open Law IO, it's also a protocol which you can integrate real contracts, not smart contracts, but legally binding contracts. And we will also add other legal stuff, what is happening there. And if we have enough time, we will also build or code a prototype using Open Law, so you can see how it really works. And yeah, reserve the date, and then it's already on the meetup.com page. You can register today already, so we have something good upcoming. So that's it from our side, and thanks again for the SettleMint team and the rest of you guys, and see you soon.